Morning, everyone. This is Derek. Thank you for joining the call. So without further ado, let's jump on to the slide itself. So here are some safe harbor statements. The GraalVM native image early adopter status. So as everyone knows today, business are facing more and more challenges. In the economic downturn, business are taking initiative, trying to retain customers, getting new customers, but they do have some issues that they do, like retaining customers. 14% of customers who abandon a page will take 3 seconds to load. I for myself, if in my mobile phone things are not reacting, I will basically close the page itself. Executives are trying to modernize the application in this digitized world, so everyone is basically a mobile-first initiative, only omni experience across multiple platforms, and they realize that some of the backend system that they have, be it mainframe or some legacy system, is actually affecting their ability to modernize the platform, and cost is a perpetually issue. They are perpetually they have to pay more for every existing things that they have, or they are moved towards modernization. And while executives are moving towards trying to digitalize, they took the initiative to basically try to build the application. So if you see going forward, most of the startup, the fintech, are actually building their own application. That's the time where actually they have the chance to basically engage the customer further. And actually is a good way for them to customize so that the user experience across the multiple devices is actually great. So some of the things that enterprises are actually moving towards a modern application development. And the first thing that comes to mind is actually using microservices. There's a few main benefits going forward using microservices. First, you have a faster project development. Where you have a project, you actually break them into different user stories, and based on the existing application velocities, you can actually predict how much velocities the agile team is doing, and based on the number of user stories divided by the agile development velocity, you can roughly have a guess of how fast the application is being developed and roughly the schedule at which you think that the project will end. The other things that you do see is like for isolation, as you start to break up your microservices or application into different microservices, where each microservices having their own tasks and role and responsibility. And when each of the microservices, as you go through a CI/CD pipeline, the microservices that have issues, you tend to flag up very easily because you only update a certain microservices. For example, in this case, if you are buying something online, and you updated the cart. However, the cart do have some issues, but as you go through the CI/CD pipeline, you will know exactly that the problem is found in the cart microservices, because that's the only thing that you updated in the last time. It also helps with the ease of understanding as each progress becomes smaller and smaller enough to support a certain function. When people get onboarded, they only look at the microservices and what is the functionality of the microservices itself. So when you look at microservices, you know exactly know what is the things that you're supposed to do, rather than having a big monolith where you're trying to understand access the entire source code and understand which functionality where each part of the program is supposed to do. It helps to ramp up new members that's coming on board to the development team. Scalability is very important. For example, if you do run microservices, you run the Kubernetes platform, and you know for a fact that, hey, these microservices need to be scaled up quickly. For example, in this case, you do have Black Friday, and you want to do some purchase where there's overwhelming customers coming in, trying to buy certain products. You just have to scale up that particular microservices using a modern Kubernetes platform. It allows you to ramp up when it's needed, and then ramp down when it's not needed. So during ramp up time, you're not actually incurring additional costs on trying to support the infrastructure going forward. So this is very important in terms of cost savings and everything. And technology agnostic, this is pretty important. As we go forward, organization tends to use more than just a programming language. So in a speedy upfront, you could be doing things like Node.js, you could be doing Angular, and in the backend you should be running Java. So there will be multiple develop, or in fact, the data science team can be using things like Python or maybe R, or you could be sending messages using Kafka. So you want to have a system where you can support many. I mean, you want to have an environment where multiple different kind of programming languages running different kind of microservices, and this allows them to talk to each other. So that's the key benefits of running on microservices. So when the organization starts to adopt microservices, they usually would like to improve in terms of their development. So that's where agile development comes in. And agile development is actually a mindset where you can actually push certain innovation, certain ideas, and this actually help with the business quite a fair bit. Because, for example, in the business where there's a event that's coming in and it's causing business to go up, or you want to capitalize certain features, you want to be able to fail fast and fail often. For example, an idea came in today from the CEO, said that, hey, there seems to be a market trend, there's a trend towards customer acquiring something. So in this case, I think recently there's a trend of buying sports shoes because people started running at home. So you want to push a microservice that goes out and capture customer behavior and say, hey, before you check out, this is something that you might want to buy. This is a new sports shoe from a certain brand. Before you go, do you want to take a look at it? So by pushing out constant new features, be it a fail or fast, be it a fail or success, you get to push out to test the market, and you know which customer segment is able to, as your prediction says that, hey, this customer is exactly what, this is the correct behavior. And if it's wrong, you just want to roll back the features and roll a new one. Improve quality as customers start to adopt agile development. Bugs tend to get fixed much faster. You get to see things like, hey, there's a certain bugs that happen when you do microservices being pushed up with the rest of the microservices. And if it's an issue, you just roll back that microservices to the previous version, and things will be running fine. And you can be part in the user story pipe where customers can where the developers can continue to fix it. It also means faster time to market, because where you're testing new features, you are basically just have an idea in the morning, build out a microservice and push it out in the evening and test the market. So you know that, hey, this is the correct direction, and you continue to push forward. It has a predictable cost and schedule. As I said earlier, when you continue to build your application, you know that there is an amount of user storage that required, where you break down your work that needs to be done, and you divide by the team velocity. And if you think that the team velocity is insufficient or doesn't meet your timeline, you can gradually add team members into it, increasing your maximum velocity for application development, thus having a predictable schedule and cost. So managing the fine lines between how much developers you can add to the team, and where you can actually have no improvement in the velocities of the application development. The other thing is adopt quickly to changes. For example, there is some user stories that's been there that you want to do new functions, but you know for a fact that, hey, there's a new event coming, and you basically want to, or there's a shift in dynamics in the market, and people want to, hey, they want to react to the changes. What you do is you just have to push the user stories, that part of the application, to the top of the user story flow in the pipeline, and then make sure that the development team works on that as a priority. Last but not least, which I personally think is the most important, is the stakeholder engagement. How many times have you done the application from beginning to the end, only to present to the business owner, the stakeholders, to say that, hey, this is not what we wanted. So in the agile development, the stakeholder is actually part of the team. He will be the one who pivots between left and right, whether, this feature makes sense, this feature doesn't make sense. So the stakeholder will be with the team real time, saying that, hey, which is the correct direction that you should go in. So you won't have a case where you have a technical debt at the end of the engagement that says, hey, this is not what we wanted, or because the stakeholder is there to support you and to give you guidance along the way so that we are building exactly what the stakeholder wants. So as you move towards microservices and move agile development, and enterprises should do that because it actually allows you to accommodate fast evolving environment. I mean, to be honest, for the last couple of months, people have moved from brick to mortar to digital, and customer behavior has changed a lot. And you have to choose the right language to fit the functional needs of the application. Like front end tends to be more cloud native, you need something small, agile, and then maybe something that there's something in the back end, maybe something that's more robust depending on the environment that you need. And having a multilingual strategy actually allows you to have a flexibility and portability, and most importantly, actually allows you to attract the best developers in the market, which we know knows that they actually the brand butter, the soul of the organization when it comes to pushing on new products itself. So that's where we come to what is GraalVM Enterprise. GraalVM Enterprise is actually a high performance polyglot compiler, and it's actually a runtime which is built for microservices. So it works for both on-prem environment. So it's interchangeable to Java in the sense that we actually boost the performance of Java by just changing the runtime. But it also works for cloud native. So if you have GraalVM, it actually allows cloud native Java microservices to be built. And here is an architecture on how you can actually run GraalVM. For example, you do have an application that's running on the tree tier, which is the traditional stuff, the Java microservices and the polyglot microservices. So this will be the ideal scenario that you have in most organization environment. So you have the traditional stuff running on Java, which GraalVM can support. And there's also the cloud native front end or some of the traditional monolith from Java that you are doing a strangling approach, or you're doing that in microservices, and it's a transition from traditional to Java microservices. Or you do have some of the cloud native front end that you're running things like Node.js, running like R, or even Kafka. So a GraalVM allows you to support all three different architecture or different programs at the same time, while maintaining a certain backend. So you can reuse whatever infrastructure that you have. You can run it on the public cloud, having a consistent operation system where one environment allows you to support different architecture design, different programming language, which actually allows in terms of operation wise, it allows you less time, less effort to manage this across the different environment. And in terms of patching, you just need to patch one environment. You don't have to patch across different, like across R, across Java, or just to name a few. Java will continue to be is still the only language that's used by 55% of the business worldwide. So we are still seeing it as the number one trend in 10 of the 14 technology trend, and it's still the number one programming language in the world. So as you can see, most organizations do have quite a fair bit of Java running in the background as you try to move from it to monolith to microservices, or just enhancing your digital transformation by running new application languages that's written in Node. Java and Graal can actually complement the landscape that you have by improving the backend speed, moving from Java monolith to microservices, or basically just supporting your multi-language, multilingual environment that you have for your front end. That could be across your mobile, could be across your laptop, and that's a couple of things that GraalVM can support you. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Martin, who will actually give us more information of what's new in Java.
Right, thank you so much, Derek. It's a nicely done presentation. So I think, yeah, when we talk about Java, right, when we talk about how relevant Java to this new world, the new workloads, the new technologies, who doesn't love music, right? From streaming music where tens of, if not hundreds of millions of concurrent users are online, Java allows for amazing scalability. Next slide. Next slide, please, Derek. And when we talk about streaming of movies, right, or streaming of data, such as media, Java is the technology used in high volume media streaming. That's where you get to see Netflix, right? Netflix is well-known company who actually making use of Java intensively within their platform. They actually pretty much running Java in most of their services. If you are aware that some of the microservices framework, which is call it the Netflix OSS, is purely driven from their business perspective. Is from what they encounter in day-to-day business. So they actually develop Java framework, and it's widely adopted these days, right? Next, please. And of course, when we talk about FSI, finance and banking, where Java handles high transactional volumes, no doubt about it, right? From the payment gateway all the way towards the back end. Every big Java, every big FSI institutions, they are running Java to some extent. Next slide, please. And then you can help me to kind of quickly press enter, Derek. Yeah, just display everything. So the list keep continue on different area, on different aspect. The cloud itself, right? Cloud is a very well-known space where Java workload has been running, right? So even to give you an idea, the cloud itself, most of the cloud itself is actually powered by Java, right? So not to mention about artificial intelligence, business analytics, machine learning kind of thing. Who doesn't know Hadoop, right? Hadoop itself is a well-known Java framework that dedicated for this. So Java is actually yeah, is the leader in this space, right? So it's the leader platform towards this artificial intelligence, cloud, virtual reality, IoT, augmented reality, so on and so forth. So there are tons of Java is usage in this space, and it actually span across different verticals from ICT, FSI, telco, transportation, so on and so forth. Next slide, please. And to give you an idea, Java is still relevant to this world, right? So as I mentioned earlier on, these are some of the projects, ongoing project, and this is not all, right? If I were to list out, it's going to be very, very tiny so-called box inside there. There's a lot more, right? So Panama Valhalla, Loom, Amber, Laden, and Zero Garbage Collection, right? So this is the project that actually is catered for modern applications development, right? Next slide, please. So when we talk about modern application development, when we talk about ZGC, we just released JDK 15, Java 15 last month, 15 of September. In one of the jobs that actually graduated from preview stage into the GA is the ZGC itself, right? Zero garbage collections. Just to give you an idea what is ZGC. ZGC allows you to have a very low latency kind of pause times, right? This is a good for low latency kind of applications. For instance, your real-time market analysis, right, where you require a split-second decisions. So this is again a good so-called underlying features that Java has to offer. Again, this is because Java is keep evolving. For the past 25 years, Java born in 1995, right? Until now, Java keeps serving enterprises and has been a trusted platform to run off mission critical application to this day. Next slide, please. And when we talk about Oracle contributions, right? When we talk about Oracle in the context of Java, right? Oracle, along with other participants in the JCP communities, we actually developed the technical specifications of Java, right? and we actually write it up in the OpenJDK, right? In the reference implementations of it. So we make it real, right? Not just a concept. We develop the reference implementations of it. We have 350 plus user group, Java user group, right? And then we have 150 plus member of Java champions, and we have Oracle University and Academy that teach people how to, write Java program, do a certification, so on and so forth. And we, on top of that, frequently release a Java magazine. It's a monthly based Java magazines, freely distributed, and we have about 250,000 of subscribers now. Next slide. And when we zoom in into the Oracle contributions, as you can see from this graph, so there are a bunch of others, big companies such as SAP, IBM, Google, so on and so forth. They are all contributing to the Java ecosystem. But look at the Oracle side, right? So Oracle contribute a lot more. Oracle concern and care about Java more than other company in the world, right? So as you can see that in this JDK 11, for instance, JDK 11 is LTS. LTS stands for long-term support. As you can see that there are 2,468 issues found in JDK 11. And you know what? Oracle fixed 1,963 or 80% of it. This is to show, we have the deepest pool of expertise in Java, right? We touch most of, if not all of the code. We have the exposure of the codes. And so since we touch all the code, we have the strongest capability to fix should there is an issue or a bug or defects or even a security vulnerabilities. We exactly know how to fix, right? And since we know how to fix, we can fix it earlier as possible, right? So next slide, please. And when we talk about security, right? So we have what we call Oracle critical patch updates. Next slide. And we have, two CPUs released so far. And in fact, we have just released another one just last night, right? Oracle released the CPU update in the month of April, July, and October, right? So we released about 3 CPUs to date. This is to show that Oracle did take security as a first place, right? As the most important thing. Next slide. And from this diagram alone, if you look at this, Oracle fixed a lot of security vulnerabilities, right? So from this instance, if you look at the Java 7, the second box from the left, so we actually fixed more than 230 security vulnerabilities, right? And then next slide, please, Derek. And if we make it more simpler, make it more easier to understand kind of representation, this is a table that you're interested to look at, right? So for instance, again, JDK 7, right? So we released JDK 7 back in July 2011, and the EOPU is back in April 2015. And the last public versions of Java 7, right? Public versions before it get into the need a certain commercializations subscriptions. The version is 7 update 80, and since then we actually Oracle did a lot more security vulnerability fix, right? So the latest versions, right, after the EOPU is 7 update 271. So literally we fixed 230 security vulnerabilities. What it means to you guys? So it means if you didn't update your Java, you are literally sitting on 230 security holes in your system. I repeat, 230 security holes. I mean, that's a huge hole, right? And to give you an idea, the CVEs that publicly available is not only monitored by you, right? It's not only monitored by a good guy, white hacker, but it's also monitored by a hacker, a black hacker, right? Or the guy who actually keep continually looking at this severe list, because the list is available, can be seen by anyone in the world, right? If to some extent you didn't patch it, you're gonna expose your applications and of course underlying infrastructures to the outside world. So this is to give you an idea that, you know, in an Oracle is really taking this to the next level. That's basically all the presentation that I have. I'm more than happy to take any questions should you have any questions.